Disclaimer, please take everything I say with a grain of salt. My opinions are pretty unpolished, and so is my judgment at times, so be mindful of that. Also, this video isn't meant to change your perspective, but rather enhance it, even if just a little bit. Now then, please, go ahead, enjoy the video. Before COVID hit the world and made everyone turn into hibernation for 2 whole years, the world seemed to have a better sense of happiness ruling through it. Now, I'm not going to go on a tangent and say that life before 2020 was absolutely perfect. I myself actually go against that statement. However, with how the state of the world was back then, I don't doubt that we were better off. I myself am turning into a new adult, getting better to live and breathe the new fresh air of constant free... Huh? World War III? Tariffs? Inflation? Scratch that. Constant slavery. I've always been fascinated by how it all just boils down to profit from higher ups, and most of us are just ants in an anthill that they can just step on and ruin. But other than that, how was life? From my perspective, I've forgotten everything. Other than just being a carefree child living through the days not even knowing I existed, for the rest of the world, it was surely different. As most consider 2016 to 2018 to be the GOATs in terms of years, but I can see in comparison it was surely different. Because nowadays, there's always bound to be a threat of something happening, and almost nothing on the internet is positive about it. Every time I see news about something, it's always bound to be something negative most of the time. And every time that I scroll through somewhere on Instagram, there's always people fighting and random videos. Sometimes there's an argument here that disagrees with that comment over there, and the thread just boils down to whether or not rape jokes are funny or not. Because there's always bound to be some loser saying, "She's not gonna let you hit, little bro." And it's not even worth it wasting your time on those sorts of people, but some still do. I don't use TikTok, but I know it's not any better. And Twitter? Don't even get me started on Twitter, because it's always 10 times worse than it is anywhere else. The only thing that always takes me back to the gram is the chance of seeing a funny video with a silly cat or an edit that makes fun of YouTube's short commenters, and the latter is always makes it worth it. But damn is it draining. But if I were to be at any side of the equation, it'd be the one that's just inherently good, which makes me a boring individual, but it's always better than being a controversial individual. Now onto the main point. Yes, that was just the introduction. Life before the coronavirus seemed to be a little bit more simple than what we have today. There was little concern and little problem around the corner. The Little Caesars hot and ready pizza was still $5, and gas prices were less excitable than what they are today. Truly a simpler time. It delved more into the development of many people from my generation. However, it appears that many came out of the oven half-baked when it hit, me included. And what I mean by that is that most if not all children at the time were nerfed drastically in terms of social and academic intelligence, absolutely eviscerating any chance of possible recovery for the next 1 to 2 years. Because it wasn't healthy staying home isolated from the rest of the world, and it shows time and time again. Though, to the players that managed to get past those hurdles, I salute you. Going back to before though, yes, I know conflict is entertaining, even the ones arguing on threads upon threads of commenters yapping about something is bad or good, or politicians / billionaires making a fool of themselves on live television and broadcasts. I always find the internet to be the main culprit of these sorts of issues. And thanks to that, the larger spectrum of networking forms into a larger audience to listen and hear the opinions and thoughts of someone way more efficiently than how you could before. Because it meant anyone could be hurt, no matter how conflicting their thoughts are. It's always been like this in life in general, with one side going to war with the other for a reason or none. Before 2020, this whole thing for debate wasn't as widespread as it is now, because during 2020 and the internet, debating has turned into a form of entertainment. Gone were the days of one side sticking with itself as we welcome people not liking the other side for not agreeing with them. Before 2020, you didn't have to worry about being drafted into war. Before 2020, you didn't have to worry about possible death. Before 2020, you didn't have to worry about Cold War II. Before 2020, you didn't have to worry about how you're going to be able to find a job that not only pays enough to feed yourself, but also pay for appliances and quality of life. It's always been there. And yes, it was still hard, but it was still manageable. It wasn't as plagued as much with greed because products came the way you saw them in the ads. Life before 2020 wasn't perfect, but it was definitely simpler to go on and find a reason to keep going. And it's sad to see that now, as the new generation is starting to turn into adults, they've not only been pushed down by the system, but also set back as people with college diplomas don't know what to do with their knowledge since no one wants to hire them. And they have to deal with the bills and loans that they have to pay for, completely unassisted. It's truly a dystopian future, one where you don't own anything, do anything, or fight anything against what's holding you back. Because you don't have that power. We don't have that power. We can't afford to fight back, like literally, can't afford it, because as expenses rack up, then so do debt and taxes. And as old as ineffective the government can be, they control everything, to the things you watch or the things that the internet makes you see. A friend in school told me, they might be educating us wrong in the wrong history, and we don't even know it. And to that, I wouldn't believe his words. But even then, there's still people that hold records and receipts to past history. Not everything about history is false information. However, that doesn't mean that the possibility of that isn't zero. As I was saying before, there's always going to be a time when the government makes both sides fight against each other rather than facing everyone themselves, effectively redirecting the public's eye into biting its tail every time. It's sad, but it's a reality, because sad or not, the majority is just a piece of stuck gum under the boot of the powerful. Now, I didn't make this video to make everyone feel bad about themselves. Quite the opposite, actually. Because the more you expand and keep an open mind, you're always going to be the smartest in the room. Well, maybe not the smartest, but definitely the most logical. I certainly wish that everything for everyone turns out alright, even if there's a few bad apples in the bunch, but that doesn't mean the whole group has to suffer. But with that, thank you for watching my video.